Welcome back, everybody, to a hobby update. We're going to be talking about the models that I've been painting, the games of 4th edition Age of Sigmar that I've been playing, and some other bits and bobs. So let's get right to it. So the first thing we're going to talk about are the Freeguild Cavaliers that I have painted up. And I'm so excited about this because I got these so long ago and took forever to actually, I built them right away and then took forever to actually start painting them. And I feel like they slowly became one of the best models that I've painted. So I'll put some pictures of them up on the screen so that you can see what I'm talking about. But with these guys, I really started to do a lot more edge highlighting, some edge highlighting with gold, with silver, with the actual the cloth that is on every single one of these guys. That's the Mephiston red. But then I put on some orange. I put on some like really like Fire Dragon Bright, like kind of orangey stuff. You can see the detail on the flags, but then also just all the cloth and any piece of metal on there. And then the actual mane of the horses, I did a different color for every single horse. There was one horse that I wanted it to be Acti themed. These are Actian Cavaliers, and so they're from Hammerhall. And I tried to make it look like his mane on top of his head would kind of have this fiery appearance, like he was almost on fire. And I feel really proud about that one. I know it looks kind of weird, but in terms of the theme I was going for, I feel really good about it. So these are some of the coolest models that around, the amount of detail on these guys, but also the amount of different bits they give you so you can customize each Cavalier, and then the amount of transfers that there are for the Cavaliers alone, plus just the rest of the stuff that you get for the Cities of Sigmar. They are really fun models, and I will get another crack at it because it seems that it is very, very beneficial to be running them in a reinforced unit of 10. More on that later, but really pleased with this. Would love to hear about, you know, if you have any thoughts or advice for me on my next steps for painting these. But I feel like I know the edge highlighting is a little bit, you know, wonky if you zoom in, but otherwise I feel like I'm really taking some steps forward in the kind of detail that I'm putting into these models. So the next thing I want to talk about is the core book, which I bought. So I really wanted to get a core book. It's my first ever, you know, new edition that I've been a part of since I joined the hobby. And so I got this huge book with tons of details and big, beautiful lore pages. I'm really enjoying the lore. You get a little bit of everything, every single faction, every single realm, and lots of story so far stuff. And it's all really interesting. When they cover the realms in the book, each realm is kind of spoken about from the perspective of someone that lives there. At times it's kind of cool. At other times it's pretty cheesy, but the end result, or maybe not even cheesy, but like, for example, one of the people in, I think the Actian person is maybe like a welder corpse hunter. And then he talks about like the upper echelons of the city or something. And it's like, he just really wouldn't have that information. Like it kind of struck me as weird that he would have that opinion, because this is like an everyman, you know, who's charted so much of Acti, which is so dangerous. Like he doesn't have time, you know, or space to think about the upper echelons of his realm or government or anything like that. But otherwise it's really good, just so you know the rules that are in the back of this. Like this is the Path to Glory stuff, but otherwise it is all the same rules that are in the free PDF. So if you're really thinking like, oh, I need this for the rules, you don't. Although, and yes, you can print the rules as well, and we'll get into printing in a second here, but it is nice to just have the rules on flipping through the pages. I don't know if I'll do this every edition. I mean, it's not for a long time till the next one, but I do really enjoy this. I love the lore, and I'm going to use this probably, you know, to make some videos in the future. So I feel pretty good about it. I've been reading a little bit of it every night before I go to bed to get through all those juicy lore bits. I will quickly mention that if you want to play narrative, you want to play Path to Glory, and if you're not getting that information elsewhere, it isn't on the free PDFs that you get from Games Workshop. It's in the book. So if you want to do the big Path to Glory, well, it is Path to Glory, let's face it, but the Path to Glory campaign, and you want all the skill trees and stuff that you can boost to your army and your units, then it's going to be in the core book. So speaking of the free files that you get from Games Workshop, I took two of those. So the faction packs for Cities of Sigmar and also for the Lumineth Realm Lords. I went to my local Staples, and after I did this, I realized that I had a teacher discount there that I didn't use, but you know what? It was so cheap to print up the faction packs. I got them bound, so they have the cover, they have the back cover. I printed them on cardstock, and I ended up going with a one-sided, and I actually think I probably could have gone two-sided and it would have been just fine. But in here I have all the nice details all the way up to the, you know, spearhead stuff. So I have that one, and so this one was a little bit bigger. It cost a little bit more money. The Lumineth one was like $11, like literally $11. You get everything, and again, it's really nice to flip through this. Now my friend just printed them on regular paper and put them into a binder, and you know, spent very little money, if like cents, but it is nice to have a hard copy, you know, nice thing like this. So I'm excited about that. The most expensive part is the binding. So even if this was $11 for the Lumineth one, it would have been $6 without the binding. So you could just then, you know, take the nice cardstock and hole punch it or whatever and put into a binder of your own if you have one lying around, and that would still be pretty good. At this point, I have no plan on getting the physical faction packs. I think it's kind of a ripoff that, especially at Cities of Sigmar, just got a battletome. They release this for free, but now they have a product that you have to pay for, and then that will just get replaced, you know, before too long anyway. So while those look like they're really cool cards and they've got the lore on them and everything, not for me. I'm gonna go ahead and just use my printed materials and save so much more money than if I were buying the faction packs, which are like $40 to $50 in Canada, depending on which one it is, how many cards they have. So we'll just get into the next painting update, because I didn't even think this was going to be in this video, but I'm on summer vacation right now, and I've basically been building and painting every single day. So I've made some really fast progress on Lyrior Uthralle, which is a Lumineth hero, and I built him in a very specific way that I semi-regretted later. Basically, I left his spear shield, the back to his saddle, the pennant that goes on the back of his saddle, him himself. I built him as a warrior, but did not attach any of those pieces together. I did not build it outright. That made the painting much easier. It made the assembling much harder, and part of the reason is that you actually build him onto the horse by putting one leg on first, then you put the second leg with the body on it, attach it to the leg and to the saddle, but also the first half of his sheath is actually on the person, and the back half of his sheath and sword is on the mount. And so lining all of that up perfectly once he was primed and painted was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Putting the back of the saddle on was incredibly hard, and it's fallen off twice. And so the shield also doesn't seem to be in the place that it is in the photo. I don't think it looks bad, but I just think, man, it's tough, because painting it properly, you know, you really want to have these things separated, but it makes it quite hard. So this model's not entirely done, but I'm feeling really positive about how it's looking right now. I've done a ton of highlighting on it, and I still have lots of little details to work on, and I need to put some grass on there and do some, you know, dry brushing on the statue that he's standing upon. But otherwise, I'm feeling really good about it. And I'm doing all my paint jobs with very few paints. I'm just using the same paints over and over, and it seems to be going pretty well. So let me know again if you have feedback in the comments. So the final thing I want to talk about in this video, and I want to make a bigger video about another time, is actually playing 4th edition. So I have not played Spearhead yet, just because we didn't get our box set until like yesterday, but we being my friend and I, but we have been playing some 1K or like approximately 1K point games. So I've played 4 games so far. 3 of them have been Cities of Sigmar versus Seraphon, and 1 of them was Lumineth versus Slaves to Darkness. So I'm the Cities and the Lumineth player, and I have lost all 4 of them terribly, like really bad. And there's a lot of reasons for that. You know, it's very hard to use armies that have cheaper models at lower point values, because you often can't screen very well to protect your models. The board is a lot smaller, so alpha striking. Basically what happened at the Seraphon is in all 3 games I lost the roll and the deployment, and I had to go second in all those games, and in all of those games he stormed across the board and locked me down, and it was very difficult to get out of that area. So some of the things that I've learned and I need to work on is how I screen my important models so they don't get smashed, but also how I allow my other models that are being screened to get in and fight when they want to. So for example, with the Freeguild Cavaliers or with the Venari Dawn Riders, they need to be able to charge or countercharge, but also be screened so that they don't get pulled into combat. These cavalry in 4th edition are fully, live or die by charging, not just by their active charge phase abilities, but they all have like the charge, +1 damage. And without it, they're doing 1 damage. There's also buffs that happen with Cities of Sigmar where you get extra attacks when you charge. So much damage is locked behind charging that it is an absolutely essential thing. You have to charge your horses. Otherwise, you're going to be losing. The other thing that I've learned is how important the density of my shooting is and maximizing that. And what that means is I need to reinforce my Fusiliers. Luckily, behind me, I've got another box of Fusiliers, so I'm going to build those up, and that's going to be able to help me make an impact in terms of getting 40 shots or 41 shots off on my turn, and then another 41 shots off on their turn when I use the covering fire command. Because right now I'm finding that the shooting, while very fun, is not impactful. And I have a set of 10 Fusiliers. I've got the cannon, I've got the ogre, and I also have my Freeguild Marshal with Relic Envoy with the dueling pistols. And even with all of that shooting, it took all of it to wipe out some of a Seraphon unit, which these Seraphon units are pretty juicy. It was the same thing with my Lumineth, where the shooting was fun with the Sentinels, but wasn't really doing enough on its own. And when I was coming up against the Slaves to Darkness, I really had no recourse in terms of just how powerful his models were. 3 3s to hits, 3 up saves on everything, 2 health on all of his infantry, 4 health on his cavalry. Very, very difficult to get through with like a small force. And I didn't get to charge my cavalry because I went in that game. I finally went first, but was not going to just, throw them into, the mix by themselves. So I had to hold back, and then I didn't line up my counter charge properly, and that really cost me. So I'm still having tons of fun, even though I'm getting absolutely wrecked on the table. I have a ton of learning to do, and I think that I'm going to be improving my matches in the future. And I hope to go over all of that in more detail with like pictures, specific examples, and advice. It'll be kind of like I made these mistakes when I first started playing, or like, don't make these rookie mistakes when playing Age of Sigmar, something along those lines. And I'll be really authentic because I've literally like lived it, the mistakes that I've made. But also it is like a fact that the armies that I'm playing right now are a little bit weak at 1,000 points, or at least the models that I have for it. Like if I had a strict cavalry build for cities or like all the shooting, it might be a little bit different, but because I have little samplings of everything, it's not really a very efficient force, and it's not getting it done. But I'm hoping to get up to close to 2K in both armies, within the next month or something. And so we'll see when I get like the full force together, how that's all going to shake out. All right, so that's going to be it. I want to hear from you though. I want to know how your games of 4th edition are going. How's all of your modeling and painting and other little hobbies? How are they progressing? Let me know in the comments. We'll talk about it. You can join me on Discord as well if you want to chat there. We have a few channels dedicated to Age of Sigmar. And then finally, if you want to talk on Twitter, you can see the updates of all the things that I'm painting and working on. We can do that as well. And otherwise, I'm off on a little 4-day vacation. But after that, it's just going to be all, work for me on my Warhammer, on my YouTube, you name it. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. And we'll see you all again soon.